Samantha O'Hare, Invention Discovery Speech for Summer Speech Session at Northeast Community College, May 31st, 2013. So, I have played softball for many years. Many sprains, many bruises, but none that needed medical attention except for a hyperextended knee. A doctor's visit later, and I was on my way to get an MRI. No idea what to expect or even what they were going to be doing. All I knew was I was going to be placed on a table and sent into a big machine that was going to make a lot of noise. The hardest part was to sit still for so long. MRIs have been around for less than 50 years. In that time, there's been many advances to the equipment and to the procedures. There are three main things that will be discussed today, and they are the history of an MRI, the equipment used in an MRI, and the purpose of an MRI. So to start off with the history of an MRI, there's more than one inventor, unlike most inventions. The first successful MRI was in 1977. However, the creating of the MRI was way before then. The very first inventor of the MRI was Nikola Tesla. In 1882, he discovered the rotating magnetic field. The next person to add to the MRI was Professor Isidore Rabi, and he studied quantum phenomenon known as NMR, which is nuclear magnetic resonance. And that triggered Raymond Loiter, the first person to create an NMR image. And then his understudy, Mike Goldsmith, came up with a coil that could detect the hydrogen levels that were produced by the coils. All the inventions came together to make up an MRI. Now that you know the mechanical parts in the machine, I'll let you know what they do. There are multiple parts to an MRI, each having their own functions. The first one is the resistive magnet, which is paired with the permanent magnet, and between the two magnets they create magnetic fields of sufficient strength to create the images. The next is the gradient magnets, and these magnets help so the image can be focused onto a specific body part. Next is the coils. The first one is the radio frequency coil, and that one is paired with a gradient coil. And together they help emit radio frequencies that help create the image itself. Next is the scanner and the patient table, and those work together to help center the patient to the magnets, therefore producing the image. And now, since you know the parts of the machine, I'd like to go into what you get in an MRI, like what is all the purpose of it. The most known purposes of an MRI are for head and brain injuries, for ACL or MCL tears, or slip discs or scoliosis. However, those are the most known, but there are actually quite a few more that are less known, which would be for multiple sclerosis, also known as MS, brain and pituitary gland tumors, infections of the brain, spine, and joints, cysts, tendinitis, bone tumors, and cerebral hemorrhages. There are many things that have to do with an MRI. Many people helped create it, and all creating different functions. MRIs have been around for less than 50 years, but in that 50 years they have had many advances in the equipment and the procedures used. The three main things that we talked about today were the history of an MRI, the equipment used in an MRI, and the purpose behind some of the MRIs that we get. And although I didn't really have a hyperextended knee, it helped me realize that MRIs are quite cool and that I did want to study to, do an MRI. and I hope some of this information has given you more insight on MRIs.